modeling and colorism, definitely a thing.
And why do people think that plus-size women cannot find love?
You see, the problem with the body positive movement is the fact that change is a bad thing.
I need to know what Drake really meant by BB.
Welcome to Curves Rock Happy Hour. It's me, the Chanel Nicole.
I'm Monet, etc.
Hi, I'm Miss Diva Doll, and we have our favorite bartender.
The turn-up queen, Ayana.
Today, we have a special guest, Shelly Washington. She is a marketing executive, spoken word artist, and former Miss Maryland Plus USA.
Hello.
Today on Curves Rock Happy Hour, we have our Curvy Fashion Minute, and we're going to be discussing what's your favorite undergarment, to spank or not to spank? That is the question. So, what do you ladies think?
I have to have Spanx, yes. I want Spanx. I want to look nice and clean and smooth and, I need Spanx.
What do you think?
It depends on what I'm doing. Like, if it's a special occasion, then I'll put something on. But generally, I just let it jiggle. Like, I like the feeling.
I'm like you, Shelly. Like, it definitely depends on what I have on. Like, if I'm going to wear something like, something that's super tight fitting, depending on like how it fits my curves, I might say, okay, yes, I definitely need Spanx. But in general, yeah, I'm not a big fan of anything. I like to just kind of let my natural curves show.
Yeah, I think for when I went a bodycon or something of that nature, I feel like Spanx because I want that smooth look.
Right.
Spanx, I'm not looking for it to make me look smaller. I just don't want, all these different, I just want the
smooth
garment
look,
to show through in its best light. And that don't have anything to do with size. I believe that small women should wear Spanx.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a lot of small women who walk around and think that, like, because they're smaller, they don't require Spanx. And especially if they have on a bodycon, sometimes it's like, in the front or this in the back, and they don't realize it. And it's just like, that would look so much smoother if they would just put on some type of body garment, some Spanx.
Yeah.
But a lot of, like, feminists, they say, like, that's just another, like, man's world type of constrict us. Why do we have to look a whole certain type of way? What do you think?
I like Spanx, but the real thing I will say is Spanx, when you have a bigger front, it makes it just look big and hard, and it does not look cute.
Big and hard?
Yeah, you just have a big belly, and it's just, like, there.
Oh,
but
you mean, like, it doesn't...
I don't know, it's not flattering to me.
But it's still smooth.
It's smooth, but it's just like it seems like if I punch you, it's gonna be a rock. And then, I like Spanx.
You're saying it's kind of like the difference between knowing like someone like that maybe that's possibly just a fat stomach as opposed to looking like pregnant.
Yes. That's what I meant.
No.
I think sometimes...
Don't want that.
I think sometimes, I understand what she's saying. I kind of agree. Like, there are times where when you have it, it just kind of like just sits out there. But I think in those cases, you want to choose something that's kind of, I guess, a tucking feel. Or like,
yes.
Talk about that contouring where it'll like pull you in some. Sometimes that helps make it not seem as hard. I mean, I guess it just depends on your size.
And
too.
it's also the fit of the garment. You have to dress for your body type. So if you have, people are going to dress to hide their belly, or if they feel like, they have back rolls or whatever, like you just dress for whatever makes you uncomfortable. Now, I understand the argument against it, but I don't think it's men. I think it's mostly women, because at the end of the day, men are going to accept the women that are in front of them.
Right.
Like, if this is how we look, they're really not looking at all the details like that. Men are looking at general silhouette. You know what I mean? Like, they're not looking at all of those details. So it's really other women that are honestly going to be more judgmental about how your clothes fit than men are.
Yeah, what about those the ones that are more like corsetish that has the like boning in them? Like, what do you think about that?
I actually like those for certain outfits. I think it gives you like that kind of, I guess, hourglass, if that's what you're going for, the whole hourglass figure. I mean, I think those look good on certain people, and depending on the outfit too. Like, you have to be careful because sometimes that lining can show through depending on. What
Yeah,
you're
that's
wearing.
the only
And
thing.
those don't look
Only
good.
thing.
That doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, that lining.
That's
but
the only thing.
you gotta double it up, you know? Put the boning on, then you put the other thing on, then you walking around like, hey,
Bend over.
Pretty much.
That's the thing. So when I was doing the pageant, I was like a size 26 at the time. So they were snatching me into the body magic, but you know, it looks good, it looks nice, but then you feel like I can't tip over like this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like,
Do you guys have a favorite lingerie?
No, I definitely don't necessarily have a favorite lingerie, but I do think like if you have a chance to like a good bra, like a pretty bra, kind of to me will set something off, or you know, that's just in my opinion.
Yeah, I like some of I like Edition L, like the whole Ashley Graham's line. I like that, but I've also brought some nice things from Lane Bryant too as well, like lingerie, like, and it fits good in the breast area, and it's not, you know. When I was young, I might have went to Rainbow, and it wasn't the best decision. It was really flimsy, but it was cute for $7.99. But you know, you got to graduate and buy that $100 lingerie. So
I don't own lingerie. I don't own lingerie.
really,
Don't own lingerie. Let me say this, and I'll admit this. I was 24 when I bought my own first bra. So me being this size, it was like, Mom was like, I can't find nothing, so I just went to eBay and bought you in bulk. And it wasn't cute. They was the one with the little gem in the middle, and then it's just like the little cup. It was just nasty. But I don't own lingerie. I just think it's too.
so like, question, and this may be a little bit personal, so just say if you don't want to answer this, next question.
Go ahead.
So when you're intimate, like, what is your sexy look?
I don't have one.
Okay.
Because for me, it's never been that whole striptease. Let's get like, ooh, let's just work it up. And no, we gonna do this. Let's do this. Let's get real.
I'm the same way.
I mean, yeah, so that might be the reason. And I tried that one time, and I was just like, I don't like this bra. Take it off. Let's just get ready. Then I take it off, and it's like, all right, we ready.
Straight to it.
It's late. The candle's gonna burn out. Let's just get on.
Oh my God.
But you know, I'm similar. I'm just a show up naked type of girl. Like I've never been really into lingerie.
Okay.
And part of it is like it felt like it was really hard to find stuff, like depending on your size. Like to find a bra the right size. Like it's so much work just to find a bra, much less try to match an outfit, match a little panty set. So it's just like, look, I'm gonna show up and you gonna take what you got. Like you're not gonna say no.
So. Robe, like a nice silk robe lingerie. Could that be considered lingerie?
I mean, yes. I feel
Okay,
like
I done that. It got my name on the back like a box of it. Okay. I've done that.
Oh my God, it's like a box of it.
It could be like a box of mint.
yeah,
Right. You don't know.
So
From
Tyler,
this corner.
I don't have a favorite brand, but I love lingerie. I think it's sexy, it's pretty. So yeah, I don't have a favorite brand though. Just whatever is on sale that's my size. That's pretty.
But like, what kind of lingerie? Are you saying like broad underwear or some type of like whole, you know, like what?
Well, whatever. It could be thigh highs. It could be a thong. It could be, like Ayana said, a sexy robe.
Okay.
It just, it just depends. It depends. As long as it looks sexy to me, but I think,
yeah, you can
will
get
look
really
sexy on
creative.
Right,
You
that's
know,
true.
like well, just like even a man's shirt with like, you know, a nice bra underneath, or you know, wife beater, boy shorts,
yeah, I was
high
gonna say that
heels.
before. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wife beater, boy shorts, heels. Yeah.
Yeah. Take a scarf, get a little creative. You know what I mean? I don't know.
You creative enough right there then.
Well, you know what? Those socks that come to your knee,
the
thigh high socks, yeah, they, you know, with some nice.
Adidas socks on, you be good.
Some Adidas.
Yeah, I definitely think it's hard, especially for me. Like I agree, like with them, just not having like being able to find great bras. So a lot of times, just for me, it was picking out, you know, some cute type of underwear, that kind of thing, and just going with that. So no bra.
Okay.
No bra.
I was gonna say like a
Let him
sexy
out.
broad underwear. That's cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we just go topless, hey.
Top
Like how we said, they not gonna say no. Pasties, underwear, you know, whatever, whipped cream, whatever. I don't know.
Wow.
There you go.
You ain't never used whipped cream before?
No.
Come on. I know you ain't used no whipped cream.
Oh, anyway,
my God.
I can't. That's-
Next up, internet buzz. So, the internet buzz for today. Ashley Graham. She did a interview with New York Magazine, Time Magazine. New York Magazine. I don't know. I believe it was New York Magazine. And in the article, she stated that she knows that she receives the opportunities that she received because of her white privilege.
Right.
And the internet was kind of, when she said it, they were like, oh my God, you know, you have two sides of the fence, right?
Right.
You have some people who are saying, okay, we don't need you to tell us that, you know, don't sort of like pander to us, don't try to make us feel good about your situation.
Right.
And then you have the other side who's like, okay, well, thanks for acknowledging, you know, and that's important to acknowledge that white privilege does exist, you know.
Yes.
And so, what do you guys think?
I would rather her acknowledge than not. So to me, that's a step in the right direction because she could just live in this bubble and feel like she's extra special and extraordinary,
Right.
and she's just the best, and that's what it is. But she's acknowledging that there's some reasons why she has become sort of the chosen one,
Right.
out of the sea of potential plus size models. There's a lot of girls that are shaped like Ashley Graham.
Right.
There's a lot of women that are as beautiful as Ashley Graham. So I think it's important that she's gotten this position and she's willing to acknowledge, and hopefully she'll take the next step of trying to help open those doors for other
Right.
for
That'll
women
be
of color as well.
like that.
I think it's good that she said that because now, as we're doing now, we can have a conversation about it. And so, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't believe that she has white privilege. But we all know that she does, and I'm glad she acknowledged it. And now we can start to discuss it openly. So I think it's great.
I agree. Like, I think it's a good thing that she pointed it out. I think it's a good thing that she's acknowledging it. It honestly, it sucks that it even has to be that. You know, to me, at this point, we should be able to pick anybody to get an opportunity. It shouldn't have had to be because of the white privilege that she got an opportunity over the next person who maybe has been in the industry just as long, has the same similar body shape and everything. She needs to everybody should understand that you should be able to get an opportunity regardless. It just kind of sucks that, you know, she even has to put that out there.
Yeah, that she even has to acknowledge it. That means that there's definitely a deficit. So let's discuss that. Let's discuss plus modeling, marketing, and colorism. So, so I'll start it off. Okay. So one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of the marketing campaigns for plus size clothing and things of that nature usually have a consistent look, right?
Okay.
And so some of the major brands, they'll have several white women. And for the purposes of this show, white means Caucasian, black means African American. Neither is used to offend anyone, but I'm going to use black and white while we're doing this discussion. So most of the women there are white, and then you have the token black girl, you know,
Right.
and
Yes.
usually she is extremely dark. So you have like 4 or 5 white women, or maybe 3 of them are white, and then the one you can't really tell whether she's white, mixed,
Right.
or, you know, of a different origin, and then you have straight dark black. And so the question is, why do these campaigns look like this? And then you have some stores who only use white models usually.
Right.
And if they don't use a white model, the model is fair skinned, the model has like color eyes, you know, it's really like it's close to the white model as you can get. So the question is, why is that? You know, why do the marketing companies, the marketing people for these companies feel like, you know, average, everyday black women of all different shades, light brown, brown, dark brown, you know, all the different shades are not purchasing their product, or they're not marketing to them? Like, what is that about? Or do you believe that exists and I'm just totally like making this up? Because Because, sometimes people look for things.
Right.
If you have a mindset of racism existing, sometimes you look for things that don't exist.
Right.
So, do you believe that this actually exists? Or, is it a thing?
I think it's a thing. I think a lot of it stems from racism, in the media and entertainment and fashion. A lot of times white people, they figure this is what everyone needs to see in the forefront. And so the closer, whether it's models, actors, whatever, the closer you get to being light-skinned, to being, I think they put it racially ambiguous, or just anything that's furthest away from black, closer to white, then they figure that's what everyone needs to see. That's what's best for entertainment, for advertising, marketing, whatever. And so I think it's still going on, unfortunately, and that's why.
What do you think?
It's just, I think it's been going on for years, so I definitely say it exists. Like, you can look at anybody's campaign and see that that's basically how they're showing. It's only a few companies that are kind of somewhat embracing all women. So for the most part, yes, it's definitely going on. I definitely agree that it's there. I don't know how you really change it, because this is something that's been going on for years. This is just how society, I guess, wants to see things. So I'm not really sure how you could go about changing it, but it definitely exists. Like, it's always going on.
Well, the reason that I went into marketing, a big part of it was to be a change agent. And I think you have to look at it from a couple different perspectives. One is that everybody has bias, right? So all of these marketing executives and advertising executives, they are individuals, and they are majorly white, right? So if they're looking at, okay, I want to have a beautiful person, they're going to gravitate towards the people that they find to be traditionally beautiful, right? So so that's one part of it. The other part of it is they're looking at, okay, who do I think my market is, right? And so they do recognize, most plus size clothing companies do recognize that African American women are a big part of their market. So the first step was like, okay, well, we have to have some black women in our campaign. So their first thinking is, when they look for who's a beautiful black woman, they look for light skin, curly hair, right? Because it's still closer to what their standard of beauty is. So you're going to get that sort of biracial looking model, right? So that was kind of the first slew of models that you might have seen in like 80s or 90s. Then they get a lot of backlash about that, because, darker skinned black women are like, I don't see myself represented here. So then they say, okay, how can we cover our bases? Well, let's go to the opposite extreme, and we'll find, probably the darkest girl that we can find, so we can say, look, we got a dark skinned girl in our campaign. Like, are you happy now? You know what I mean? That sort of thing. And so because there's not a space to have probably 5 different black models, right? You end up with the extremes, because they want to feel like they've covered their bases. So they have the maybe Latina or biracial person, and then you have like the super chocolate girl, and you don't really ever get to having the spectrum.
Yeah, and then the unfortunate thing is, when these model calls come up, these castings, they're saying specifically that this is what they want. Right. They want you to look like you're from an island, or if you're black, then from Africa. These strong like foreign features, and we spend a lot of money. I was looking at the percentages and about how much money we spend, plus size women in general. But, I also noticed that there were no numbers in relation to, if you say 67% of the population, women population, are over a size 14, I would really like to know, breakdown-wise, how many of those women are black. Okay. And if you don't know that, how can you, that's kind of like numbers. It's kind of like the first step in making that change and saying who your target market is, if you don't know that breakdown.
Right, that's important.
Because if you're just looking at plus size women as a whole, and then you're going with your own beauty standard. But let's break that down a little bit more so that we can see, from a business aspect, what kind of dollars you want, and what kind of dollars you want to keep, right? And so the other thing I noticed is that, like with anything, you got to have some type of uprising. You got to have people speaking and talking about it or whatever. But the black models are scared. Right. Because they feel as if they say something, then, you've become a nuisance. Yep. And so now you're looking at possibly not getting jobs because you're standing up for yourself.
Right.
And so
So
who's
you're
going to take
difficult
that
to work
lead?
with
Yeah, you're
and
difficult to work with or whatever. Who's going to take that lead and say, listen, you don't have enough black girls in your campaign? I mean, Lyris Cross was on Project Runway.
Right.
And I watched like emotional, she was saying, you know, for my community, this means a lot, you know, in reference to diversity, right? But when I heard it, I was thinking not just diversity for the plus size community, but diversity for black girls,
women.
Yes.
you know? And so something has to happen for that to change. And it starts with a discussion.
What I don't understand is, okay, a company will do marketing, right? And they'll do marketing for an entire group of people. And they'll try to do, like you said, like the really dark girl or the really, really fair-skinned black girl. But what they never do is do a campaign of just different shades of black women. But they'll do a campaign of, you know, different shades of white women, so to speak.
Brunette,
Yeah,
brown
with
hair,
the
red
different
hair,
color hairs and
blonde
everything.
hair.
Right. But I would like to see a company step out and do something like that.
Major company.
Yes, a major company come in and say, this is what we want to do. We want to showcase an entire range of, you know, the black women, because we're marketing to them as well. And just as you said, like, what percentage is the plus size market? If it's a large percentage of black women, then you should be representing them more. And there's no harm in, if you can do a campaign of all white women, you can do a campaign of all black women. Like, it shouldn't really matter. It shouldn't take away from your brand in any way, shape, or form. So I wish companies would understand that and just kind of embrace it more.
So what do you think they could possibly do, the first step to trying to solve something like this?
Well, I think there's definitely space. So we do know, although like you said, I haven't ever seen the percentage of the plus size market that is black women specifically. We know a few things. We know the majority of women in America generally are plus size, and we know that black women tend to be larger than white women in general, right? So you could assume that a large part of that plus size market is black women off the rip. The other thing that we know is just socially, as a black woman, it's more acceptable to be plus size, and you're more likely to be a confident plus size woman, and therefore more likely to be shopping for trendy clothes, have more clothes, that sort of thing. So it is likely that black women spend more on clothing, or plus size black women spend more on clothing than plus size white women. So all of that kind of stuff is there. It's just a matter of the right people being in the room from a marketing perspective to make those decisions, because you still have predominantly white advertising teams and predominantly white marketing teams. And so they're not necessarily recognizing that, when we see a campaign of all curvy women, but they're all pale curvy women, we're not relating to that or feeling included in that in the same way that, the women that they see or they perceive might be doing. So there has to be more people like me in the room, honestly, to get there, because that's what I view my job as. Like, my job is to make sure that we're recognized. Like, I've had to fight in situations for, like, to just have a black woman with like a 4C natural hair in a campaign, right? Because people were saying like, and it was actually a Spanish language ad that we were doing. And there are Afro Latina women, like there's black Latino. So they were like, no, we can't have this woman in, the Spanish ad because she had the kinky fro. And I was like, there's black women in Latin American countries, and like we gonna put the sister with the 4C hair in the campaign, and it's gonna be fine. Like, I'm telling you that it's gonna be fine. Like, she needs to feel like she's included in the ad too, because it's just as bad in South America or Latina communities feeling like Latinas have to look a certain way. So but you have to have somebody who's willing to have that conversation and willing to sort of recognize the nuances like hair texture, because they're not necessarily thinking consciously about what it means when all of the black women have straight to curly or wavy hair.
Why do you think it's not a lot of, I guess, black people in the boardroom in general? Because if you're marketing to a large group, why wouldn't they want to have that perspective? Because it's hard for me to have a whole group of people and then I'm marketing to them, but I don't know much about them. I might see them in passing, I might have some friends in that category, so to speak. But if I'm not working with that category all the time, how can I market to a category that I'm not familiar with without having somebody to represent them in the room, or at least somebody to consult with, even if they're not necessarily on the board, or so to speak.
Yeah, it's a lack of consciousness and ego. Like, people feel like they know everything and they don't need, anybody to tell them anything different. So most of it is just ignorance and ego. And just, people want to work with people that they're comfortable with, and you're most comfortable with people that look like you. And so when you think about most people get their jobs through networking. Your network is the people that you went to college with at your white college and that sort of thing. And so you just don't even meet the people to invite them.
So part of the change is having these conversations, and also having more people like Shelly on those marketing teams. And so because we are taking this episode to start the conversation, we want to continue the conversation. So we want you to share, we want you to comment, we want you to have honest discussion, because there needs to be change, and there needs to be change soon. I was going to say immediately, but we know things don't happen like that. So thank you for watching Curves Rock Happy Hour.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Make sure you join in on the discussion. Happy Thanksgiving.